Hi everyone, Arjun page, and I have a vague idea what I'm going to do here, and I want to start by stenciling, and I'm going to use two shades of gray. I've been thinking that if I will use it, then when I go and build the next layers of color, then it will look like it's in the back. So I'm going to try it, and I've got some slate gray. This is Deco Art, and I've got some light gray, something I picked from the cheap store. And let's put it here. Okay, so I've got this stencil that I made. This is just, I've cut it out of a plastic divider, very thin one, as you can see. And I'm taking now some makeup sponge, and I want a lot of this leaves in the back. So I'm starting with the darker paint of gray, and I'm dabbing so I won't have too much excess paint on my sponge. Let's do like this. This is quite, I'm going to do it quite random. I want all over the page leaves, and I'll also use, I think, this larger one, like so. This is part of building layers. After I will finish with the darker gray, I will start doing the same thing with the lighter gray. And I can also flip it, so I will have, let's see, something like that. This journal is made in a sketchbook notebook. It's sketch paper, and I haven't primed it. I didn't put any gesso. I didn't think that I need it. So I'm going to continue doing the same thing over and over again until I feel it's enough, and then I will go and start with the lighter one. I'll be back. I'm back. So as you can see, I've stenciled all over the place with both shades of gray, and now I want to spray it, and I'll put a towel underneath here. I'm going to use my homemade sprays. Just put it here. My homemade sprays are made from gel food coloring and water, and there are no measurements. I just put a few drops of the gel food coloring and water, and then I test it and I see if it's vibrant enough for me. That's it. Otherwise, no recipe for it. So I've got a orange, I've got some turquoise, and I've got some blue. So again, quite random. And I'm starting like this, and we'll see if I will need to add. As I said, this is a sketch paper, so it will absorb a lot of the spray, and sometimes when it dries, it dulls. So when it's dry, I will see better if I need to add more. So I'm letting this also overlap a little bit, so it would be softer in between the colors. There's not a lot of difference between the turquoise and the blue, but nonetheless I wanted to use both of them, and I'm already adding more of the turquoise here. And now I really need to let it dry. Now I'm going to mostly let it dry as is without a heat tool, because the heat tool will start moving the spray around my page before it gets in the paper. So I'm going to let it be for now. I'll be back. I'm back, and I'm already loving this start of background. I still want to build more interest and details in the back before I'm continuing to my focal image. And I'm going to take this script, a text, a stamp, and I want to stamp it all over randomly. I really like to have text in the back. I'm going to use this Ice Spruce Distress Oxide, and I don't need acrylic block. Oopsie. Okay, so I'm going to put it like this, and I want it quite random and really in the back. I don't want it to steal the show. It just itsy bitsy detail in the back, nothing more. Like so, and just a little bit here and here. That's it. So I've got this, and I'm really liking how this is looking with the whole thing. So I'm thinking of stamping some more. I've got this leaf stamp from Stamperia. I'm going to use the smaller one. Again, I don't want it to steal the show. I want it in the back. Let's see. I want to stamp it here, but with the spiral it's a little bit difficult, but here we go. Don't know how much of it you can see, but I see it. And I'm just adding in several places. Yeah, I think this is it. Again, don't know how much of it you can see, but it's nice. I think it, at least I think it's nice. So now I'm moving on to my focal image, which is, again, surprise, another branch with leaves. And this is another one of the stencils that I make. It's from acetate this time, and as if you're following me, you know I'm just designing some image with permanent marker, and then I cut it out, if it's from the plastic divider or the acetate, with nail scissors, because it's easier. They're smaller and dainty, and they have a curve, and it's easier to do it. So I'm thinking of it going here. Now I want it to really pop on my page, and I've got a lot of layers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to first stencil with gesso, so I will have a nice base for the paint that will come on top. So I'm putting a little bit of gesso here, and let's start. I'm thinking like this, Okay, so taking a little bit of gesso, dabbing it so I won't have too much excess. And sometimes when you're doing it, still you don't get a great coverage, then you just wait and do a second layer. Better to go easy and do another layer instead of having too much on your sponge and then you've got spillage underneath. Okay, so we've got the gesso and I'm dabbing in places that I think need a little bit more. As I said, second layer where you need it. Okay, and I feel like I need some more. What do I do? Do I add more of this? Or maybe the opposite? I don't know. I'm going to think about it a little bit. I'm going to bring the paint that I want to stencil on top of this one, on top of the gesso, and I'll be back. Okay, so I've stenciled another branch here and now I want to add the paint to my branches. I've picked this Ice Blue by Art Deco and oops, I have a misshape. Okay, baby wipe. Good enough. That happens. So I'm again placing my my stencil here and now I'm going to go over it with this ice blue, which is very light, so if I didn't use the gesso it wouldn't be noticeable enough on my page. I'm planning to do some shadowing and highlights, so it will, I hope it will even be more noticeable, but again the gesso will help it show on the page. Yeah. Now I'm doing this one, and yes, I know that some of it overlaps. I'm not really concerned about placing my stencil to the exact millimeter, because when a little bit of the white is showing, it just adds to the whole thing and gives a little bit more definition. So I'm not concerned about a little bit of the gesso showing. So now I want to make it pop on my page. I think I'll use some permanent marker. I need a very small one. Let's see. No, I think it depends if it will work. I've got this silver pen, this is by Pilot, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, and I don't know if it will be enough to hardly show. So black it is. Let's see, I've got all kinds of, I've got a 0.5. Let's see if it will be enough. Going for it. Yeah, okay, here it is. So I'm going to go over all of this like so, and then I'll come back. So I finished outlining everything with black, and I still feel like it needs more definition, so I'm adding some water to the gesso that I've got left here, and I'm just adding to the leaves some highlights where I think it's needed. Otherwise there is no rules to it. Mostly I'm going on top side of each leaf and adding a little bit of it, of the white gesso, and I've diluted it because I'm not looking for a complete white. I want it a little bit translucent so it won't be harsh on the leaf. Harsh line, that's what I mean. Otherwise it really doesn't matter. Do what you want, and you can use whatever you want. I just have left the gesso here, so I decided to use it. You can use acrylic paint, you can use a water reactive pencils, anything that can give you a little bit more definition without covering. It needs to be a little bit translucent. So as I'm putting the white at the top of each leaf, I'm planning on doing some shadowing on the bottom. And I keep adding where it was too diluted, the gesso. It's always working as to be subtle and find the middle point. Okay, so I think this is it in terms of highlights, and I'm going to I think I'm going now to darken my edges, and I don't want to add something more watery, something wet. So when I want to do this, I'm using a pencil eyeliner. This is black, and I'm just putting it gently and smearing with my finger. You can also smear with a Q-tip if it's easier for you. So that's what I'm going to do now. Just go around my page and do this until it's enough for me. I like the corners to be more, to go inside more. So I'm putting a little bit more of the eyeliner, and so I'm going to continue with this and I'll be back. So I finished going around my page and I just stenciled with the leftover gesso a thick comb, and I want more shadowing here. I'm not satisfied yet. Now again, I don't want to add anything wet to my page, so I'm gonna try and with a brush and the Distress Oxide, the ice spruce that I've stamped in the back, I'm gonna try and add some shading, and we'll see if it works. So underneath each leaf I'm just doing something like this, and again, I'm not sure how much of it you can see. I'll bring it closer to the camera in a minute. And I really want it to be subtle. I don't want a, otherwise I would use something like the Stabilo All-Purpose, the black one, but I wanted to just go with the page and not scream black too much. So underneath each leaf I'm just adding a little bit shadow. And some of it also is going in the leaf, and it's okay by me because it's very subtle. Yeah, and now I'm just adding a little bit more in the corner. It just goes with the rest of the darkening of the edges. I think it's softer this way. I've got the black that I've smeared, and now I've got this gray, and that's good enough for me. Okay, enough is enough. I think I'm liking this page. Maybe it needs a little bit more white as a highlight, but I'm going to let it be. And here it is. I hope you can see all the details. So this is it for now. Thank you for watching, and thank you for leaving me comments below. I'll be seeing you in my next video. Bye for now.